You know, I've talked to colleagues all across the country, and it's great to have the media on today. And as coaches and media members, we don't have days off. It was a great chance for us to celebrate college football and now take another step forward into week 2. You know, after reviewing the game tape, a lot of the things were maybe consistent with my assessment after the game. Really pleased with our 2-minute offense and actually our 2-minute defense. I thought at the end of the game, you know, we played the game with some great poise and composure. Defensive guys did a super job knowing how much time that Montana State had left and put us in a coverage to make sure that they bled that clock down, and which we were able to do. And I thought our offensive line during 2-minute was outstanding, and Sean really showed some great poise and composure. Ryan, I think you're right. You questioned me about Trayton making the last catch with one hand. You know, from my vantage point on the sideline, I couldn't see that, but as I watched the tape and everything else, it certainly was a remarkable catch, and he made it with one hand, not because he wanted to make it with one hand, but because he needed to make it with one hand, and I'll leave it at that so I don't give myself any demerits. A couple other things I thought we really did well. The kicking game, our place kickers and punters, kickoff people were outstanding. The coverage unit had a breakdown. We were fortunate there. They did have a block in the back, but we need to grease that up a little bit. But overall, the field position game was won there, and that helped leverage our defense. We were able to, you know, make them go the long, hard way a great deal of the time. And then offensively, I thought, you know, we made a couple explosive plays. There are certainly areas where we need to improve on. You know, the biggest area where I was disappointed in is our traditional tailback run game. That was not where it needed to be. I think we've got the stable of some excellent running backs, and so we've got to clean some things up there, particularly with the offensive line and some perimeter blocking, whether it be our tight ends or some wide receivers. But you know, we're certainly not one-dimensional. We had about a 60-40 blend, which is where we need to be, but we need to be more productive in our running game. There was, you know, we did a good job of staying out of third down and long, but there were too many third down and 5, third down and 6 is where we needed to convert, and so that has to be attributed to some things to where we've got to clean up there. And we came through the game pretty healthy. I don't think that there was any injury that sustained that was going to keep our guys from being out there against Northern Illinois. There may be some bumps and bruises, but they were minor, actually. You know, as I mentioned, the beginning part, colleagues all across the country, and I don't know if you fellows in the media felt like this. It was great to be back to some normalcy with fans in the stands. It was a great college atmosphere. It was loud, and I know all across the country there were examples just like we had. And so America's embracing college football, and we're off to a great start. We are 1-0. We had anticipated a competitive game. Coach Vegan done a masterful job as far as preparing Montana State, and they came in ready to play. We took the challenge. We met the challenge, but it was a challenge. And now we're on to the second opportunity playing Northern Illinois. A remarkable change from last year to this year. You know, they were winless last year, and Coach Hammock's done a great job changing the mantra of that football team. They came up with a big win against Georgia Tech on the road in Atlanta. Had to come back. They were ahead, and then they had to come back and convert it on a long drive. You know, they are a real physical football team. That changed from the previous year to this year. Boy, they come off the ball and smack you around. I think their defensive line is much more aggressive, and they got guys in the secondary that can run. The quarterback is a transfer, Lombardi, from Michigan State. We know a little bit about him. I thought he really operated their offense well, and they've got an excellent running back, Waylay. And so we've got a big task at hand. I've always said this, the most improvement between the first and second game is kind of our mantra, and we're going to need to improve if we have a chance to win this game. So at this time, I'll open up to questions that are out there. I think Nick's going to moderate it. So, Nick, fire away.
Ryan, why don't you go ahead and start off, followed by Josh.
Frank, how did you, just looking at the film, I know you thought Cam Stone played pretty well in relief there for Azizi. Overall, how did you think he played in the secondary, and What's the status of the weather right now?
Yeah, Rome will be back on the sidelines. He was not there. You know, I don't want to get into the specifics on why that is. That's something internally handled. We thought Cam played extremely well. He was challenged. You know, they did come up with a back shoulder fade, which was a great catch. But overall, we're really pleased with Cam, and we feel like he deserves more playing time.
Josh, go ahead.
Hey, Coach, kind of going off of that, what was the thing that impressed you the most from the safety play on Saturday?
Well, that Braden Smith was all over the field. He caused a fumble. He did a great job tackling. And many times you don't notice that guy's there, but his wavelength to be able to cover not sideline to sideline, but just outside the hashes to hashes. He really did an excellent job. He was in the right place at the right times. And so we were really pleased with how Braden played.
Ryan, go ahead. Followed by Cody.
When you have an area where you have a little bit of concern, like you expressed with the long snapping, do you kind of carve out more time to get those guys more reps in practice? Or how do you kind of approach improving that during the season?
You know what? That's been an ongoing issue. It's not because we have not allocated time to that. I think we're going to probably make a change, maybe not so much on the punt snapping, but the short field goal snapping. We certainly will work on that. I'll spend some time with those guys. And then Marty English, who coaches our defensive end, was also a deep snapper in college. And so we've got to get that shored up, because that really is an Achilles heel that we have right now. And I always say snappers are like the fire department. You never know they're around until all of a sudden something goes awry and they're not there. And so we've got to get that cleaned up. We've got a short week to do that, but we're confident we can get that done.
Cody, go ahead.
Greg, you like to say that you think you know a lot about your team after the first quarter. Was that the case this weekend, or do you need to see some more?
Yeah, what I saw about in the middle of the first quarter, we weren't able to run the football like we needed to, and that was disappointing. And that, quite frankly, surprised me, because I thought, if anything, that we would be able to go out and establish and dent and move the line of scrimmage. So we've got some work to do there. Now, that does not mean, Cody, that we can't be where we need to be. I've seen them go against our defense at times, so I think we've got a pretty good defensive front. So we're trying to go through methodically why we were a little bit tentative, why we were falling off blocks, why we weren't firing off the line of scrimmage. So we've got a lot of confidence in that group. The other thing that I saw was, Sean threw the ball under pressure. We had a guy come free, and he made an errant throw. What became apparent to me was, while that was not a pick six, it was a throw that put points on the board for Montana State, and I thought Sean came back and showed some composure. And I thought our defense began to bounce back as well. Was it the start that we wanted? No. I mean, I think we took a smoldering fire and threw a bunch of gasoline on it, and we were able to withstand a heck of an effort by Montana State. So we need to start faster than what we did last week. So that's what I learned. Wasn't exactly what I thought.
Josh, go ahead, followed by Ryan.
I asked you after the game, but just after looking at the film, with the second half, seemed like there was a big change, in the offense's production. What was the biggest difference that you saw after looking at the tape?
Well, I think we made some adjustments. There were a couple schemes that we changed with what we were doing up front. Also, I thought there was a resolve. When I went down and spoke briefly with the offensive line, they were disappointed on how they performed in the first half, and I think they wanted to perform better. I thought Coach Polisic dialed up, maybe some plays that were going to pierce some of that front. And then also we did some things with Sean to get him on the corner, which helped.
Greg, when you think back to the 2016 game, I know it was a wild, long night that led into the next morning, but what are a couple of the memories that really stand out to you from that game?
Well, a couple things. First of all, I can remember our students staying out there till who knows how late, and when we ran out on the field, there just seemed to be a different energy. Certainly, that was the first time that number 17 really showed what he could do. He raised the bar. And also, I just remember a really competitive football game in Northern Illinois. You know, a couple of years prior to that, had gone to the Orange Bowl, had been to many bowl games in a row. And so for us to have an opportunity to be in that game, I also remember this, Ryan. I hate to say it, I looked down at my watch after the second overtime, and I told the official, I said, we got to get this thing over. I mean, I think I did the radio show at 3:15 in the morning, and I don't know how many people were listening, but Kevin McKinney did a great job staying awake. He was dozing, though, he just said.
Greg, after all he's been through, how special was it to see Ravonte hold out there playing his game and
Right.
coming out of there without, better nowhere, on him this week and playing a healthy game?
Well, he sustained, some pretty hard shots in there on the inside and did a great job. And that's got to give him some confidence that knee is going to hold up. He was a force. While we weren't super disruptive as far as penetrating in the backfield a whole lot, we certainly established the line of scrimmage and all those tackles that you saw Chad Muma make. And Chad played a great game, but a lot of that can be attributed by those guys up front keeping the people off him.
Ryan, go ahead.
Craig, you mentioned Lombardi, their quarterback, another guy with Power 5 experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it appears from the stats that they have bend but don't break type of defensive effort. Just what's kind of your scouting report on Northern Illinois this year?
Well, I think the quarterback's made a profound difference in their offense. He's able to throw the ball vertically downfield. He's a seasoned veteran. He can take the ball from one hash and put it at the bottom of the numbers way on the other side of the field. So that forces you to cover more field. I thought they did a great job with their tempo, and they had Georgia Tech scrambling. And so the coaching staff, I think, has got a good understanding, a good pulse on where their football team is at. I do believe their defense has got excellent team speed when you talk about bend but don't break, what I saw. And Georgia Tech, I looked up the profiles on some of those players that they had out there because, they impressed me when I was watching the tape as far as the skill level of Georgia Tech's players, whether it be the running back or wide receivers. And many times they would break open in the open field and the Huskies would come and hawk them down. And so it gives me an indication that they've got excellent speed, they're excellent tacklers, so they're a much improved football team. And so for us to be effective, we're going to need to establish ourselves. We're going to need to be able to dent that defensive line that they have. And I think we're going to really need to make sure we keep the ball in front of us because they certainly have some playmakers on offense.
Cody, go ahead.
Greg, speaking of Lombardi, I saw you coach with his dad Tony in Wisconsin in the '80s, and I was wondering, have you paid attention to Rocky his whole way through, his whole maturation and his whole recruiting process?
You know what? Not really. We've been in our own little bubble out here, and I remember Tony. Boy, you do a great deal of homework. Of course, the name is famous, but his father was a coach at Mankato State, and then also at Eastern Michigan was a famous high school coach, and so a great family heritage there. It does not surprise me. You're seeing a very, very capable quarterback.
We got any more questions, guys?
Okay, guys, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg.
Yep.